Hello everyone, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm, and today I'm here to bring you the Authortube In the Trenches tag, which is an original tag by Adrian from Strip Cover Lit, and he tagged me, so I decided I would give it a go as I'm trying to get back into filming, and I like to think of myself as an author, you know, this little beautiful baby. But yeah, let me get into the questions. I feel like I think there's 10 all in all, no, 9. So, number 1. Do you have a sweetheart novel, short story or poetry project? A project that turned you into a serious writer? So, I was thinking about this question a lot because the first thing I really remember writing was when I was actually in boarding school, and contrary to popular belief, and this is probably going to shock everyone because I am not a fan of sci-fi now, but I used to sit at the dinner table at the boarding school after school, and after dinner I'd just stay there for hours just writing non-stop, filling pages and pages and pages up in like a spiral bound notebook of fantasy stories. So and I wish I still had them today because that would be really fun to just see. I remember like my auntie, she's actually she's a journalist, and she said to me that she enjoyed my fantasy more than my romance, which I went on to next when I got a bit older. So then before the romance, I started writing the story about like this silly romance that I have so many romances here, and I just don't think I'll ever read them because I'm just not a romance person now. So the fact that I've written one is a bit odd. And I'd also said it in Italy, and I'd never been there before, but I got through the entire book, and I wrote this love story set in Italy. A lot of it was in Italian as well because I wanted to try and show that I'd really researched. I did so much research for that book. So I feel like, yeah, those two, maybe that was, you know, Walk With Me was the book that I originally wrote. It's not available anymore, thankfully. But yeah, it's very different from something I'd write these days. But holding your first finished manuscript in your hands is always really, really cool. But yeah, before that I was doing this memoir of my childhood because it was actually pretty crazy. It was about Chernobyl and about the doctors thought I was going to be Down syndrome and they wanted my mum to have an abortion, and then I sneezed, apparently. I don't even know if that's a thing, but this is what my mother said, but she's half bonkers, so who knows. Apparently I sneezed, and that's when she knew. Or no, not sneezed, sorry. Hiccuped. So that's when she knew that she couldn't abort me even if there was something wrong with me, like Down syndrome or something. And I mean, yeah, when I was finally born, the doctors wouldn't even come in and apologise to her because they were so embarrassed. So yeah, it was a pretty cool memoir. I remember writing it on my mum's really old school, like mint green Mac, and I don't know where that one is either, but they must be somewhere. I doubt my parents would have gotten rid of all of them, but... And then I started writing a book called The Other Woman, which was also published for a short while. And that one, it's probably the one that it's very personal to me, and it really inspired me to just carry on writing, if you know what I mean. Like, if I had to write that book before I could write anything else. So that was definitely a serious moment. And then my most recent one, It Was You by Jaylee Wright. It is fiction, it's a murder mystery. I don't think I've ever known anyone that's been, oh well, yeah, no, I had an ex-boyfriend that got stabbed to death, but no, like, I haven't really had a lot of like proper murder cases in my life. Like, that was pretty straightforward. So it's definitely fiction, but there are parts of it that are definitely real. Like, I used my experience with my parents' alcoholism and a an old relationship that really affected me badly when I was majorly messed around. So I put it in there, and this one has just been a game changer for me. This is the one I'm really proud of. So I fucking love the cover. Look at it. Anyway, I am rambling. So the next question. Oh god, it's only question 2. I'll try and hurry up, I promise. Do you or do you ever plan to work on series length projects? So, as Adrian said, I feel like if you write a series, it really does up your chances of selling more, because if someone reads the first book, if they're at all interested, or even if they're not, if they're just the kind of person that just wants to finish something that they've started, they're going to want the second one. So you've got more chance to make more money, if that makes any sense. He explained it a lot better than I will, but so personally, when I read books, I'll start them, and if they're a series, I'll read the first, say, 1 to 3, but then there's just so many other books out there and I just need something different, so then I stop. And then I can't remember what happened before, and it takes a while for me to be able to pick it back up. And it's like the Jo Nesbo Harry Hole series, or Karen Slaughter's books, or Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. That's a great one. I think I'm on book 4 now, but I've been doing that for the past 3 years. So I would love to say that I would write a series one day, because I think that would be bloody amazing. But honestly, it's hard enough writing a standalone novel, and, you know, to say that you've completed an entire work of fiction, it's an achievement. So, I mean, kudos to the guys that can actually do a series, because that must be tough. Okay, so number 3. Thoughts on mixed form projects. Short stories that contain poems, or novels that contain short stories. So, as Adrian also mentioned, the only thing I can really relate to this book that I've read or tried to read is Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk, which I am still trying to get through it. I think I don't like it, to be very fair. I don't, maybe not, like, maybe I don't mind the books containing poetry kind of a thing, like Milk and Honey by Rumi Kaur and stuff, but yeah, Chuck Palahniuk Haunted, I was super into it in the beginning, but then it just gets a bit tedious after a while, and I'm just like, there's no characters to follow, there's no storyline, and that's what I kind of want when I pick up a thick book. So I don't like, and also as a writer, since this is Authortube, I really struggle writing short stories. I think it's one of my biggest challenges, and something I really struggle with as an author and a writer. So I just, I'm not a fan. Yeah. Right. Where do you see publishing in 10 years' time? I had a hard time answering this question. I listened to Adrian's answer, and then I was seeing who else had done this tag, and yeah, I feel like, so the other guy that, I've forgotten his name, I'm so sorry, but I'll leave it in the comments down below in the description box, but he'd said that, you know, he commutes to work in the morning and he still sees people reading physical copies of books on the train and stuff, and that's amazing. And I honestly don't think that'll ever go away, with especially now, like the Bookstagram and Booktube community, all those people that just adore paperbacks and libraries, and just the smell of a book and the sound of a cracking spine and turning the pages. It's very sensual, and if you're a reader or a literature lover like us, you kind of understand that. So I don't imagine the publishing world changing that much in 10 years' time, if that makes any sense. However, I don't know, I'm extremely stubborn. I really don't like Kindles, and everyone tells me I'm just stupid because I should, and I could make so much more space in my house and I'd have all these books on one tiny little thing, but I'm just like, nah. So in my head, I like to believe that books will always rule, but that personal preference really. Okay, if you could have one booktuber review your work, who would it be? This was actually a really tough one for me to answer because my previous novel, which was The Other Woman, about the girl who was a mistress to a married man, that she didn't know that she was a mistress. She had no idea that he was married before it was too late, and she'd already developed these feelings, so it was a lot harder to walk away, blah blah blah. And it's told from 3 different points of views, sometimes a little bit more for like just random chapters, but predominantly my main character, the mistress, the husband, and then I also bring in the wife that discovers what is going on behind her back. So what was I going to say? Oh yeah, a lot of booktubers have reviewed that book for me on here, and I've had, you know, a variety of feedback, and I appreciate it all. You know, even if some people have said the most lovely things. This one beautiful soul wrote me a song and sang it on her piano, and that's on YouTube. It's called Love Me Today, and that is just absolutely gorgeous. I was so touched. So there's been amazing feedback, but then there's also been constructive feedback that, while they're not being nasty, they gave me low ratings, but they told me why, and I appreciate that. So to be honest, any booktuber that is willing to give my book the time of day, I appreciate it. Even if you say something negative, like just make it constructive, that's all. I always try and do that with my book reviews. Like, people hate on me for not liking It by Stephen King, or some of the Karen Slaughter books, or Shantaram and stuff like that. You know, some of my most popular videos that people get really upset that I didn't like it, the book. But if you watch the video properly, you'll understand that I never meant to just be nasty. While I mentioned the things I disagreed with or didn't enjoy about the books and the writing, I did always mention something good about the book, because I think every book has something. It's why it was published, you know? So, yeah. Anyone, to be honest. But the one person I'm too petrified to ever pick up my book is Steve Donahue, because he's pretty brutal. I call him the bad grandpa of BookTube. So, number 6. Writers' quarrels are a thing of legend. What author alive today would you want to spat? I have to say, at the moment, this will change all the time, but at the moment it would have to be Bret Easton Ellis. I'm busy reading American Psycho and just want to bash my head. It is so tiring to read. Just, there's so much unnecessary shit in it, and I just want to ask him why. Or like, was he on copious amounts of drugs when he was writing this fucking book? Like, I don't know, but it's like, and I know this is like a theme and it's kind of how it's supposed to be portrayed, but he is describing every single person's outfit the entire way through the book. He is obsessed with brands and labels and fashion. So, and I kind of get that, you know, it's rich, it's Wall Street, it's blah-de-da-de-da, but they're manicures and they're guys, like, come on. But, okay, this was back in the day, so I can forgive that. But then there's this dialogue that I just don't get, you know. There's like a group of boys at a bar, they look over and they're like, oh, that's that person. No, that's that person. Oh, no, it might be this person. And it's like pages and pages of this, like, trying to decipher who a person is, and that doesn't really, like, have any correlation to the story. And then there's, like, sentences that go on for paragraphs. I mean, like, 100-word sentences, and then there's chapters that end halfway through a sentence and then just start fresh. And I guess maybe, I haven't seen the movie of American Psycho with what's his name? I can't remember, but Christian Bale, is it? But anyway, maybe that's like blackouts and then that's when he's murdering people. I don't know. But I'm getting really tired of the book, to be honest, and I just kind of need to figure it out. And also the way this character, Bateman, he speaks of women, like he's just like, oh yeah, big tits, good legs, blonde, hard body, and it just, as a woman, it grosses me out beyond belief. But yes, I just want to argue with him about his novel. Yes. Number 7. Have you ever been part of a writers group? So I am currently part of the NaNoWriMo Brisbane group, and we get together like once a month. I've only been to one of the meetups, unfortunately, and it was really cool actually, because I think normally we get together at like a cafe and spend a couple of hours having writing prompts, and we've got to write stories specifically around these writing prompts, and it's really fun, and it kind of just helps you stay motivated and inspired to write. And it's also really cool to just have a table full of writers and everyone just hooks their laptops up, and it's really fun. So I went to one and it was really cool because it was on ghost stories, and I like that a lot because I am a thriller and horror person. It's just who I am. But I believe a lot of them are quite sci-fi and fantasy based, and I don't know why. I started my writing life off writing fantasy books, but I can't now. I don't have that kind of an imagination. Like, I have a vivid imagination for other things, but not fantasy anymore. Although I did start watching Game of Thrones season 4 last night, and I'm bloody loving it, and those dragons are amazing. Anyway, moving on. Do you have a favourite writer's craft book? So I have only read one, and that is On Writing by Stephen King. I gave it a 5-star review, which is very odd considering I think I gave It by Stephen King a 1-star review. But On Writing was the first book by him I read, and I thought I was going to love his stuff after that. While I don't enjoy his fiction that much, I mean, I enjoyed The Shining more than It, but he does sound like a bit of a pretentious sod in On Writing. He's just very cocky and arrogant. I took a lot away from the book, so even though he was condescending, he helped me to see rejection in a new light, and I find that really invaluable. So I thought that it was super witty and extremely clever, and just a really good guide for the craft of writing. So yeah, I really highly recommend that book actually. As much as personally I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan thus far, but that book is great, really, really good. Like, he has this thing about how he used to get loads of rejection letters, and he had this pin board above his writing desk, and he used to pin all the rejection letters to this board, and then he would use it as fuel to just try again and try harder, work harder, and make it happen. And look at him now. So that was super inspiring to me, because obviously, when you get your first rejection letter, it sucks dick. But yeah. What is your least favourite writer's craft book? I don't have one, because I've only read On Writing, so I guess that kind of answers it, because yeah, he was a bit of a ass in the book, but honestly I don't have an answer for that. And the last question, God, I made it to the end within 20 minutes, bang! The last question is tag people, and I think Adrian has pretty much tagged most of the writers I know on Booktube and Authortube, but I will tag Brooke and I will tag Cam from Wolfshot Publishing. I'll also leave their profiles in the description box down below. But now, if you don't mind, I've got to go to trivia and probably put on a bra. Side note, my novel is on Amazon and it is quite cheap at the moment because I'm trying to make some sales. I had a bit of a cold month last month, so put it down in price. It's only a couple of dollars on Kindle, but paperback is pretty damn beautiful, so consider supporting your fellow authortuber, booktuber, all that stuff. Anyway, yep, I need to go get my brain on and win trivia. I'm trying to beat these like really old people that are really starting to piss me off. Bye!